When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. OBASELI Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020 7739 7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com. When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. OBASELI Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020 7739 7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com. When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. OBASELI Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020 7739 7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com.
Good evening and thanks for joining us this evening on another episode of your lovely program, Truth and Justice with Jennifer OBASELI. I'm your host, Esther Olufemi. I want to apologize to all our Facebook fans and families for what happened last week. We were live on Facebook, live on TV and live online. The TV sound was fine, but unfortunately people on Facebook weren't hearing us and I wasn't paying attention to my iPad, wasn't paying attention to what was going on Facebook. So we're very, very sorry. Please pardon us. I hope it's going to be good today. If there is any sound issue for those who are watching online, please give us a beep and I hope we'll be able to get that sorted quickly. Today I'm with, last week I was with Jennifer OBASELI, the executive producer of Truth and Justice. But today, guess what? I'm with Dr. Jennifer OBASELI.
I'm still getting used to that.
Congratulations again.
Thank
Jennifer
you.
was
Thank you
honored
very
with
much.
an honorary doctorate award last week. How does it feel to be Dr. Jennifer?
Well, I say to everyone that it's still the same me, but it's actually made me reflect and acknowledge the body of work that I've done. And it's also given me a lot of zeal and let me say encouragement to move on in the area of work that we're doing with humanity and trying to make sure that everybody all over the world, no matter where you are, that your human rights are protected.
Absolutely. Welcome with me again tonight, Dr. Jennifer Obaseki. Trust me, I told you last week she's a superwoman. Seriously, she's a very strong woman. You know, a very strong woman. You deserve that award.
Thank you very
And many
much.
more will come your way. Tonight, we're going to be looking at the law in relation to family
Yes.
and children, especially here in this part of the world we are in the UK. For me, family seems to be the center of humanity. The success of a family will determine the success of the community, of the workplace, of the religious places of mention it.
And the next generation.
Family seems to be the center of focus.
Yes.
You were influenced to be a lawyer by the history of your family having over 100 years of legal practice.
We've been in governance, we've been involved in structure, communities, governance, policy for a very long period of time, over 100 years. If you take into consideration those extended family members, even back home in Nigeria, that have been in positions of authority. So yes, I've been strongly influenced by the family, but also strongly encouraged and supported by the family.
That is how important a family unit is in
Indeed.
anybody's lives. Okay,
Indeed.
before I go to my first question, we'll take a quick short break and we'll be right back. Don't touch that. Invite your friends.
Please do try to call in. If you can, share this on Facebook so that we make sure it's interactive. Do try to call in. We want to be able to answer questions for you.
We're going to short break. See you shortly.
See you shortly.
When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. OBASELI Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020 7739 7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com.
The law in relation to family and children is our topic today, and like I said during my introduction, family is the focus of humanity, is the center of humanity. Jennifer, would you say the system here in this part of the world we live is in support of family unit?
Well, you see, there is that support, whether it's from local authority, intervention services. However, when they perceive there to be a threat to the child, then quite frankly, the focus becomes one of, let us safeguard the child. It's not whether you're a fantastic family, you're a good family, because all that should be established during an investigation. Once there's an allegation made, there is a swift look at the family, but most importantly, depending on what the nature of the allegation is, the child is usually safeguarded first. And that can be not just going into the family to help during an assessment, it could be removal while an assessment takes place.
Okay, do you know why I asked that question? Some people of the school of thought that the government would support a single mother and would be reluctant in supporting a couple who are in the same circumstance as a single mother would be or is. And they think that system is encouraging women to, it's encouraging division in the family, so to speak. If a single woman will get help as against a couple.
Many couples will have the issue of finance, accommodation, etc., etc. Those are the pressures of living in the UK, in London, or in busy cities.
Yeah.
But the fact is, even when the local authority are assessing a single parent, if the mother is seen to be of means or resources, then the local authority may not automatically help her. For example, if you go to the local authority and you're a single parent and you have children, and you say, well, I'm homeless, there has to be an assessment carried out, not just as to your eligibility to housing, but as to the welfare and safeguarding of your child. But if the local authorities see and perceive they have a duty to the child and not to the parent, then they may separate the mother and the child and just accommodate the child, just carry out their duty under the Children's Act to the child. But it is rare for them to be separated. Normally, in such circumstances, the mother may be helped for a short period if she's not determined to be entitled to long-term housing help. And such is the shortage of funding in local authorities now that they often either rush through this process, sometimes they don't carry out the assessment properly, and often they may just help you into accommodation. So not into local authority or housing association, but into accommodation, so into private renting, because of the shortage of housing. But as to whether it's encouraging couples to separate, as to whether it's encouraging single parenthood to be more of a phenomenon, I'm not sure. Such is the status of the economy and of people in society that family values are not as they were back in the day.
You're very right.
Yeah,
You're very
many women don't see the necessity of waiting for the perfect man or having the ring on the finger before they have children. And many women out there are single and so do need the help. And many fathers are even out there raising children on their own. The whole point is the society, the government should just carry out its legal obligation towards you. So it must carry out the proper assessments with your eligibility to housing and a proper assessment as to the welfare of your children if you are at risk of homelessness with children.
Interesting. Domestic violence and abuse has become a very evil cankerworm that is eating deep the longevity of family units and of any relationship. What is the law regarding domestic violence and abuse in this part of the world we live in?
Now, about 2 years ago, the law on domestic abuse changed. It was expanded because not all people present with physical injury. Abuse is much more than physical.
Okay.
You know, it can be financial.
I was going to ask
It
you.
can be
what are the attributes?
it
That was
can
my
be
next question.
emotional.
Yeah.
So the whole concept of domestic violence was expanded to include those other forms of abuse. So if you're a woman and you're being verbally abused every day in, day out, that wears down your spirit, that wears down your, you know, your whole strive. And it can just be as let me say, as negative as the physical. The same with the financial abuse. If you're in a household where you are subject to degrading treatment and you are not given independent finance to buy the basic things you need, you're made to be subjected to awful treatment only to receive a few coins for things that you need for your person, that is also emotional abuse. Or if you're working and the money's being taken from you, whether it's being taken from you directly, taken by members of your partner's household, you're not being given access to it once it goes into the bank. There are various forms upon which financial abuse can take place. But it's important that if you are being subject to any of these treatments, that you do seek help. Esther, there's one thing I always say to people who are undergoing abuse, and what I say to them is, if you're dead, I can't help you.
That's right.
It's only when you're alive, and it's only when you can have that courage to take that step that you can get help. Some of the reasons people don't report are very valid. Some people don't report because it would lead to them being homeless. That it may lead to their home office applications being jeopardized. But the whole point is, unless you ask, you won't know the help that's out there. There are community centres you can make reports of domestic violence to. You don't always have to go to a police station now. That's another thing that's been changed. You can actually reach out to different places in the community that are signposted to report and collect data on what's happening with you and offer you support. The other thing is the Home Office have provisions for people who are suffering domestic violence. And there are also legal methods that you can take to protect yourself. You can have things like injunctions that will secure you going to work, secure you and protect you in your home, and stop your perpetrator from coming close, whether within distance of your house, distance of even your borough. So there's certain ways that you can really protect yourself. So please, reach out. We're here to help.
Okay, some people are being abused and they don't even know they are suffering from. They are victims of abuse.
Yes.
So, what are the attributes, or how will you identify someone who is a victim? What would show that you're being
sometimes
abused?
The way that us women can, especially women, can cover it. Lip gloss, could do your hair. You wouldn't know the makeup is covering bruises.
Whoa.
And some of the things is the low esteem, the withdrawalness, the fact that somebody is no longer having the same personality, and it's no overt, tick list, but you might notice the change in somebody, the inability for them to converse with you as they used to. And if you do feel that you have somebody in that situation, you can report anonymously. You can try to help that person by reporting what you believe is happening. And then a trained officer should be allocated to go out and help find out the truth. But I would say somebody who you suspect, either from their character, from their behavior, not following the same pattern they used to, no longer coming out to the usual venues that you see them, even if it's a church. And this is one of the things that we've been working with some of the churches, to help provide detailed training and information to their welfare officers, because it's not a case of somebody beating you and you go in and praying on it. Praying is one thing, but acting is also another. Even as churches, there are obligations to safeguard your congregation, especially if it's been reported to you. If abuse is reported within church,
and you covered it up as
and
a
you
leader
also
of the church,
cover it up as a leader of a church or as a welfare
you could
officer
answer
in the church,
to the Lord.
could be problematic for you. It's important that you have a referral system in the church, because some of the leaders may not be trained to deal with the information.
Absolutely.
Some of them may not know what to do. So it's important that your church even reach out and get information as to how they should correctly deal with safeguarding issues. Your mosque, your church, your synagogue, wherever. But the point is, you're a public place, so it can happen under your roof.
You have a duty of care.
Absolute duty of care.
Wow, interesting. I hope our pastors, our leaders, our imams
they were all
are listening tonight.
Have a review. It's always good to review these welfare and safeguarding policies.
You have a duty of care,
and especially if
of
you've got
people under
children
you.
coming there.
Okay.
If you've got children coming there, very important. Try to review it. Try to call somebody in just to talk you through, give you strong and guided proper assistance so that you conform within your legal obligations.
So get in touch with us. Let us help you, train your welfare
your
officers,
your welfare
your workers,
officers,
your
indeed.
staffs who are dealing with issues like this, so that you don't answer
foul.
to answer to the law, so that you don't answer to the law. When we talk of domestic abuse, easily people think, who are the victims? Women.
Oh,
Who
no.
are the victims of abuse, Jennifer? Is it only women?
It can be women, children, and I don't want to sort of equate humans and animals, but one of the signs of abusive and controlling behavior is sometimes the perpetrator also injures the animals in the house.
Can you imagine? So even animals can suffer abuse. Interesting.
But my point is, when it comes down to human beings and domestic, as we're talking about, men suffer often in silence. Often the embarrassment due to traditional and cultural values, the role that they're seen or should have in the house, and they don't feel confident in speaking up. But you should. You should. There are many of us that are trained to help you. There are many of us that can guide you through the protective measures that you can take, whether it is injunctions, whether it is getting alternative accommodation, and whether it is actually knowing that you can leave your situation without fear. The things that you think are going to happen, that's going to be so, let's say, time ending if you leave the situation, or the control you think that perpetrator has over you may not be as strong as you perceive it to be once you get the help and you get information as to how you can leave and leave safely.
The rate of people who have lost their lives because of domestic violence and abuse this year alone is scary.
Yes.
It's scary.
And
So
we've seen these videos coming out in Nigeria due to social media now of where women are saying that they were abused, and actually men even losing their lives to the hands of their spouses as a result of abuse and violence in the home. You know, the one thing that I would say is, when you do feel that the situation is tensing up, there is nothing wrong in walking away.
Seriously.
Heat
Save
plus
yourself.
heat usually makes an explosion. Heat plus heat usually makes an explosion. Things need to temper down. There is no point throwing bad word on top of bad word until you actually get the explosion that may occur. And the thing is, there's no retracting those words once they leave the mouth. And once you actually then become physical, whether it's on perception of being hit or trying to defend yourself, then it can lead to awful consequences, whether it's fatal or critical injuries. It could lead to prosecutions where you're now trying to explain yourself. So always try to decipher a situation. Obviously, you must defend yourself, but walking away is the best form of defense.
Okay. Some people wouldn't want to report abuse because of the stigma attached to, oh, you're a single mom, or you're a single dad, or you're separated, or you're not with a man, or you're not this, you're not that. And they would rather stay there and suffer day in, day out. Now, why is it important to report abuse, especially when children are involved?
Well, you see, you have an obligation to protect not just yourself, but also your children from witnessing the emotional abuse. If you're living in a situation, an abusive household with children, always remember that children are like sponges. They pick up and absorb what they see. And it could have long-term traumatic effects on their lives. And it plays out in so many different ways with children. Nightmares, personality disorders, even if it goes untreated without therapeutic input. So you can be causing emotional abuse to your child. And even if the child gets in the way, you're putting the child in line of physical danger. So it is so important that you protect yourself, but most importantly, do protect those children. Even if they're not getting physically hit, the emotional damage that's being caused.
So it's not the best to raise children in an environment where there is...
Absolutely not.
In fact, the question we should ask ourselves is, do we want them to live that kind of life?
Indeed,
if it's happening and you're
the boys
they're
and
not
girls
living.
could grow up and replicate the physical behavior.
Absolutely.
They could go out and replicate the physical behavior in school. When they grow up, they could think that, oh, if my partner's beating me, that's okay, and stay themselves in an abusive relationship. It has such long-term adverse effects for the child and for yourself. When you stay in an abusive relationship for a long time, it has long-term traumatic and adverse effects on the individual. You cannot think that you can stay in an abusive relationship for years and walk away and be okay.
And be sane.
That is something that means you're actually deceiving yourself. You actually should try to get some therapeutic input. You should definitely get a physical review, because sometimes the long-term internal damage that physical violence can cause is awful. We had a client once that had such severe damage done to bone structure in her face that she had to have plastic surgery. We've had others that have had internal injuries. And when these go unchecked, cracked ribs over and over and over a period of time, going untreated, these are things that could have physical long-term consequences on your well-being. So apart from the physical reviews that you should have on your health, try and have the emotional, because it does, one heals better once the mind is absolutely focused and okay. And years of trauma, years of verbal abuse can have a negative effect on the mind.
Someone is out there saying, come on, ladies, what are you talking about? There is no relationship that is free of
There
ups
are
and
many.
downs.
No.
So there is, don't talk about abuse. What you guys are referring to as abuse are just normal hiccups in a relationship.
Arguments,
At what point?
most people do have arguments, disagreements, and falling outs. Even I sleep on the sofa, you sleep on the bed, but when it comes down to blow me, I blow you.
That's where I'm going. At what point does it become serious that you have to be reported?
Start feeling uncomfortable, once you start feeling unsafe, once you know you're in physical danger, once you know that you're waking up and you are feeling that you don't want to be there. You know it's time to review your situation. You change your situation or your situation changes you. The relationship, if it cannot be salvaged through mediation, if it cannot be salvaged through couples therapy, if it cannot be salvaged without you getting hurt, then it's time to protect yourself. You do not put yourself in harm's way to please the community. The community, not all of them will come to your funeral. I tell you this. Not all of them will feed your children. I tell you that.
I had a story of a case recently. The lady was suffering serious abuse from her partner, and she reported to the religious leader of where they were fellowshipping, and she was being told to keep praying, you know, and keep trusting God. She lost her life. The man eventually killed her. So I know we especially Africans, we have this culture of no, it's
your husband.
Your matrimonial home is is a training ground. Your matrimonial home is a training ground. You have to go there as a school.
If you're dead, I can't help you. If you're dead, not all of them will feed your children. And sure, none of them will feed your children. And if you're dead, none of them will come to your funeral. Get help for yourself. Protect yourself. You have a duty to protect yourself. Love yourself. Realize that you deserve the best as a child of God. Realize that you deserve to be treated respectfully. The same way you treat another human being, you deserve exactly the same. There's no reason why you should be harmed in your home.
I used to tell people, God hates divorce. As much as he hates divorce, he hates violence.
Of course.
He hates abuse with the same passion.
He made punching bags for a reason. You're not a punching bag. We'll
go on a short break, and when we return, our studio line will be open. You can drop us messages on Facebook. We'll try to see, pick up your questions, your comments.
Yes,
and give us a call. Let's, ride together this evening on this serious topic of family and children. Don't touch the dial. We'll be back.
When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. OBASELI Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020-7739-7549 or go online at www.legalpower.com.
Thanks for staying with us this evening. We're talking about family, the law regarding family and children in the UK. And we've been dealing seriously with the issue of domestic violence and abuse. I'm going to ask Dr. Jennifer to tell us at this point, where you mentioned it briefly when you were talking the other time, but some people are there suffering from serious domestic violence and abuse. Could be a man, could be the children, could be the woman. What is the procedure to reporting? Some people are there, they don't even know where to go. They're suffering, they're dying, they want help, but they don't know what is the step-by-step, procedure to follow in reporting domestic violence and abuse. You mentioned it briefly the other time. What's the first point of call? Someone is seriously being battered and beaten. Where do you go?
The first thing, if you are able to access a phone, you call 999. It's important that you call for urgent help there and then. However, if it's after the event and you are out and you don't know where to go, number one, you can report to the local police station. However, within the local communities, there's different intervention places that you can go. And when I say intervention places, these are sometimes charities, community centres or community-based organisations that have been established to support victims of domestic violence. The other thing you can do is you can call 101, and that's the non-emergency number for the police. But anybody who picks up that phone will be trained to talk to you. You can also call the Samaritans. You can also call Relate, which is a charity established to help couples and other forms of relationships. We talk about people being married, and it may be the fact that you're not married, but still, these are organizations set up to help you. So, as an immediate thing, most public bodies, even schools, have safeguarding officers within them that if you feel the need to, once you're able to escape the house, you can go into the school and explain to one of the teachers that, look, you need to speak to somebody, you've been the victim of domestic violence in the home. They will reach out to the services that can come into the school to help and protect you there and talk to you about what your options are. Now, once you report to the police, number one, if there's physical injury and they feel there's sufficient evidence to which to prosecute, they may take the steps to arrest the perpetrator. And you'll be supported in giving evidence against the perpetrator. But believe me, they know that this is a very delicate situation, and many victims withdraw their complaint. So police can prosecute without you, though it makes it very difficult. And so they encourage and support you during the criminal process. So do not be afraid. There's lots of help out there, and it's not just the police that will support you. There are many other organizations locally that are there. If you do need to talk about this topic and you're thinking about making the report, you haven't done it yet, you can also reach out to a lawyer. A lawyer will be able to sit you down, give you your options, and advise you what legal provisions are there. I've spoken about injunctions which are there. There's also provisions if you're afraid of losing the home where you live if you leave, that can be discussed with a lawyer. And on top of that, might give you a bit more clarity and, as to what will happen after you've made the report. Because many people are so fearful that once I make the report, what happens next?
What next?
A lawyer could really talk you through that, and that might give you a bit more clarity, a bit more confidence in taking the right step.
Okay, thank you. At what point will safeguarding issues arise when it comes to children in the family unit? At what point, really?
You see, once a child is perceived to be at risk of harm, and social services have a very tough role in trying to make that assessment, then there's different things that they could do. They could swoop in very fast if they feel the harm is so immediate and try to apply for an emergency protection order. If the courts are even closed and they can't do that, they may ask the police to help them in stepping in. And that will require, the police have powers to really help them for at least 72 hours, a maximum 72 hours. So even if the courts are not open for them to apply and take you to court to get the injunction, the police could step in, and under police powers, the children could be seen to be protected until social services can even get an idea of what's going on. Be advised that the powers that social services hold are quite far-reaching, if I say it like that. It's far-reaching. So if you are seen to be caught in their headlights, if I say it like that, under investigation, under assessment, the one thing, if you haven't done anything, that you should do is be confident to cooperate, but also seek advice. So the first thing is, you may get a notification from social services. We want to carry out an assessment.
Why would they get such?
That may be because of a report. That might be because of a child's disclosure. That might be because of an adult's report. So an adult in the school, in the community, could make a report to them.
Saying a child is in danger.
They feel that the child is in danger. They could have a report from school, either from the way your child presents or from what your child says. They could, as I say, have a report directly from the child. The child may disclose to an adult, the child may call Childline. There's so many different ways. And again, if the child goes to church, a person in the congregation, if they feel that they've seen you go stupid idiot too many times, they may decide to report you. And so the whole point is, it's not about where the report has come. It's about, is that child in danger? Are you acknowledging that the child is in danger? Are you cooperating to make sure that that child is safe? So this is the thing. If you acknowledge that, you know what, I have a hot temper, I've been hitting these children.
I've been hitting, right.
So, that might be an issue. That might be an issue for you that you need to deal with. So you may need to do that. You may need to take charge and think, okay, I need help, parenting help. I'm not able to handle this particular child, they're very stubborn, I need some help in parenting and discipline and guiding me how to discipline better without physically over chastising the child. Because back home again, culture, you know, lends to the fact that physical discipline is standard. But here, physical discipline and over chastising your child is a straight up crime. You'll be calling me for criminal help if you do that. So please think twice about the steps you take when you're disciplining your child. And the fact is, again, once social services or once you're in their headlights, cooperation. Social services may present you with a lot of paperwork, and it can be overwhelming, especially if the child is not with you. If the child's not with you, the first thing is you're distressed, you're worried, you want to have the child back, you want to defend yourself all in one go, whereas there's a process. And the process is you must comply with the requirements of being open about questioning and providing answers. Also giving, let me say, an insight into what your understanding of the complaint is. And then that will lead to them making a decision. During that time, sometimes they may ask you to sign something called a Section 20 if it's gone that far. But prior to them even coming in, they may ask you to come for some meetings. And at those meetings, it will involve the school, it may involve the local police, it may involve other organizations and characters involved around your child, so that they can try to establish what the network of support is around your family, what support you need. Unless you go to those meetings and relay what the issues are, they may see you as being non-cooperative. They may see you as not having an insight into what your problems are. Another thing we do, in our lovely communities, is we cover our problems.
Oh yeah, we're good at that.
If you don't tell the social worker that you are in debt or you have other problems, you are being forced maybe into a new relationship or whatever the situation is, unless you say what it is, you can't get help. If you don't ask, you don't get. Unless you say the house you're living in is so small, you're overcrowded and it's driving you into stress, they won't be able to help you and accelerate your housing application. So it really is important to try and maybe even list the issues you have before going into a meeting, but most important of all, speak to a solicitor. There is legal aid automatically available for public law matters. Number one, if you're going to have proceedings issued against you, there's normally a pre-proceedings letter that is given to you by social services. As soon as you have that, it's like an automatic entitlement to help from a solicitor. Even if you don't have the pre-proceedings letter and you're being asked questions, you're being asked to attend meetings, you can go to a solicitor for help, and you can get help under a limited scope at the initial stages. But if you are issued with a pre-proceedings letter asked to come to court, legal aid is automatic. So what you therefore have to do is you have to look for an expert. You look for solicitors based on their expertise, and also by recommendation. But recommendation comes by way of somebody telling you. But then you have to also look into that person's background. Make sure they're registered with the Law Society. Make sure that they're registered by the SRA, the Solicitors Regulatory Authority. Then make sure that they specialise in the field. Make sure that they have years of experience in that field of law, so that they're giving you most up-to-date and best practice advice that can be given. And then also, you've got to also make sure that it's convenient for you to get to their office, and that you strike up a very clear communication with them. Because when the communication between lawyer and solicitor is not good, it's difficult then to get detailed instructions, and also for the client to assimilate the advice that's being given. So important that you get somebody who, as I say, is an expert.
We'll go on a quick break again. When we return, we'll be asking Dr. Jennifer issues about children who have been taken into care. We'll see you shortly.
When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any
Mr.
solicitor.
Guerrero?
You look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. OBASELI Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020 7739 7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com.
Thanks for staying with us. The studio line is on the screen if you're bold enough. Family issues, domestic violence and abuse issues are very sensitive. You can imagine you sitting beside someone who is abusing you and then you're taking a phone to say, hello, what do I call? Someone is beating me up here.
Please, we appreciate that. Number one, there's an issue of confidentiality.
Yeah.
So the firm that I run is OBASELI Solicitors.
Yeah.
You can call us at any
Exactly.
time.
You can
If you
email.
look for the firm's name on the internet, it will give you a 24-hour number.
Yeah.
You can text, you can call, you can just let us know that you need help. We'll try and immediately signpost you. The next thing is, if you want to call in this evening, obviously do call in, but remember, obviously, it's a live show.
Yeah.
Remember, people are listening. You can ask general questions, of course, but if it's something that's confidential,
Get in touch.
get in
with us.
touch. Come to our office on a Friday. We have a free clinic, or you can email esther@obasekisolicitors.com, and that's esther@obasekisolicitors.com. We have an info box, which is info@obasekisolicitors. But if it's based on this program and you want to speak to somebody confidentially, feel free to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Jennifer. Why will a child be taken into care? We have so many children in care.
Now, it's a worrying statistic, the rate at which children go into care. But believe me, the local authority is not out there with a net just trying to scoop up as many children as it can. Well, they don't really have the funds to care for these children on the scale at which they're being taken. On top of that, children are only taken if it's seen that their parents are not able to care for them without there being risk. Now, there's different ways in which risk can be analysed and perceived. So, for example, a child may be seen at risk of being subject to female genitalia mutilation if they're taken out of the country or taken home. And an order may be placed that you can't take the child out of the country, but the child may still live with you and not taken from you. But then the child may be perceived as being in danger in that household or in another household of being forced into marriage. And that child, again, depending on the level of risk, will the court determine what kind of order should be in place. So there could be a care order, there could be a supervision order, all have different levels of, let me say, protection that will be bestowed on the child. But if there's a care order placed on the child, it does mean that the local authority will be in position of locus parentis, so they will be in charge of making all the parental decisions for that child's welfare, where the child is going to live, where the child is going to go to school, which GP. So the child's parents, biological parents, will basically lose their parental authority over the child.
Okay. When children are taken into care, is there any support family members can render? Sisters, uncles, aunties, before children are given to fostering?
You see, you can, when the proceedings are being threatened or when the proceedings are in play, you can either ask people who are not biological parents to step in as interveners. So that could be grandparents, that could be aunties, that could be family members. And also, if there's going to be, for example, a Section 20 where they want to take the child out of the home while an assessment takes place, family members can step in and offer to be foster parents, so the child is placed within the family, as opposed to placed within a foster parent's home. Now, the court, before it makes such a decision, sometimes it feels, who is this foster parent who wants to place within the home, number one? And then secondly, does this person realise the seriousness of these proceedings? And will this person be able to actually stick to the rules and safeguard this child against the parent that we think may have caused this child harm? So the person who you're pushing forward, or the person that steps up and wants to be that foster parent or wants to have the child placed within the family, has to also meet the test. has to be suitable, has to have suitable accommodation, has to be able to do it in the long term, has to be able to provide the child with the necessary emotional and other support that will be needed. The local authority does offer sometimes financial help, but the person needs to be in a position where they can welcome the child and support the child during such a traumatic period.
Okay. So families can actually step in.
They can offer to step in, the court has to approve.
The court has to approve.
If the social workers already don't approve and support the move, then the court may have to make that decision.
And children who are already in care, is there any
Wait for them to step
way
out?
for them to step out and be reunited with their family?
You see, once a care order is made, when there's a change of circumstances, you can ask for it to be reviewed. Not many people do. Many people give up emotionally, physically, once the care order is made. But if you manage to get yourself on your feet, then you should try to do so as soon as possible. I'll tell you why now. We're having many people who, for example, whose immigration situations are a bit precarious. And during that time, accommodation and feeding of the child may be an issue. But later, at a later stage when they get support, if the child's already been taken from them, they may sort out their papers. They may be out of an abusive relationship, more stabilised, and think, do you know what? That child that was taken to foster care, I'd like them back. I've got accommodation now. So if your situation has changed as a care order, you need to get the support and advice from a solicitor on how to make an application for there to be a review and based on your new circumstances. The reason why I say you need to take steps as soon as you're able, and that's advice and steps in that order. The reason why you need to is because children are deemed not to be it's not suitable to have children in foster care for long periods of time. Why? Because you have children having their formative years of development, and so the courts have supported children being adopted after 1 or 2 years, and not even sometimes it's so rapid, and we think about 2 years, it goes by so quickly. So many people are caught unawares when there is an application for an adoption being made so soon after the child has gone into care. And when it happens, believe me, once that train has left the station, it's so hard to stop. It's so hard to stop, especially if the adoptive parents are settled and the child is settled in some way with them. Maybe it's the foster parent that's been there for a long time, just wants to seal it off by making the whole situation formalised by adopting. And you as the external parent, if you haven't been maintaining your contact visits, if the contact's been limited, then you're on the back foot, even though it's your biological child. So it's so important that you don't give up once the care order's in place. It's important that you try to get on your feet. You try to get the support that's needed, whether it's getting yourself into work, getting yourself into accommodation, and saying, hey, look, I've managed to do this, doing a parenting course. There's no harm in doing a parenting course. We cannot, believe me, even us who think that we're parents that are managing 5 or so children, as a parent, you're continually learning and you're continually wanting to improve your skills. So there's no harm in doing a parenting course. It doesn't mean you don't know what you're doing currently. It means you want to improve your parenting. So don't look or be let me say, put off by these words. Sometimes even the way these things are labelled, often
scary, isn't it?
Not even scary, but many of people within the African culture feel offended when you tell them that they should do a parenting course. It's like it's no besmirch to your character. This is about what needs to be seen to be done. You know, it's nothing. Even the doctors, teachers, some of them have to do parenting courses. Even with the domestic violence. Some people need to do anger management courses. Some women actually have to go on these anger management courses when they realise that they're having a problem with controlling their emotions, controlling their anger, that they're lashing out. And that could be due to some underlying problems. And that's why whenever there's any kind of trauma in the family like this, therapeutic input is so important. And again, that's another thing that stigmatized.
Yeah.
You will tell certain families about therapeutic input, and they'll say, are you saying I'm mad? Are you saying this? I should go and pray. No, which kind of therapy I will pray? No. Therapists are trained to help you deal with these deep-seated emotions that may be triggered, evolved, stirred, or displaced as a result of incidents that happen in your life. And as you say, some people may think that after being boxed around for years, after being starved from financial independence for years, that they can just walk out of the door and be fine. Some people can, some people can't. Most people mask. Most people mask. And that's the truth. So these are places that you can go to therapists to talk about these things. You don't have to tell everybody you're going to a therapist. Just go and get the help that you need that's going to make you a better, stronger person.
To look after. Nobody can look after, as they say in Africa, nobody can look after your kid like you would, no matter how bad we think.
And you know, we've done certain cases where children have gone for therapeutic input. They've been keeping underlying secrets that even their parents that think that they've had their eye on them 24/7 don't know. So it's another good reason, if your child has witnessed a level of violence or abuse or lived with you through something, it's so important that you get a therapist to talk to them, because there may be things that you may have missed, there may be abuse that they have hidden. So therapy is a good thing. Don't ever think that it's a bad thing. Okay?
Prayer is good.
Prayer is fantastic. Prayer is even essential.
Practical steps.
But practical steps to help you deal with emotions. And you can also make sure that you do the research. Ask for a therapist that is of a certain faith or of a certain belief, so that they have a deeper understanding of your spirituality or your own spiritual needs. Because we cannot deny that we're all different human beings.
Exactly.
The way your spirit lives and deals with emotions may not be the way mine does.
Exactly.
So you may want to go to a therapist that also understands biblical teaching, that will help you reference these other things that you're reading as passages for support in the Bible as well. So don't just turn it down, research it, look for the right one so that you can get the help.
People are quick to say, no, God will sort it. I'll pray
Absolutely,
about it.
He will, but you have
will,
to take the steps.
Exactly. Faith without works, especially when it comes to children. I'm a mother too. You can't imagine your kids being taken away from you.
It's a hard thing, but if it happens, you also need to stand firm and try to deal with the next steps.
Exactly.
The next steps is, okay, they've taken these children because they've said, I have failed in a certain way. I may agree with the judgment, I may not agree with the judgment, but how do I now turn that around? And that's what should be the focus. It's emotional, of course. You need time to actually heal and stand. Because once you fall, you need to have that will to stand, or you stay lying down. So if you've got the will to stand, once you've got the will to stand, you have to get the will to walk. And then when you start to walk and you walk in truth, then that's when you can try and get to the point of, okay, I'm in a better place now. How do I apply for these children back? It's not impossible.
It's not impossible for as many as I've got their kids in care, and you're thinking, will I ever, have these kids back? It is not impossible. Get in touch. Get help. Before we go tonight, what will you say to people who are couples or partners who are separated and one is not allowing the other to have contact with their kid or with their children, with their child?
You can apply.
What's the law around that?
The law for that is you can make an application, a Children's Act application. You use a form, and you can apply to the court for contact. If you don't know where your partner lives, you can apply to court for disclosure. The DWP will allow a court to have the address of the partner that's claiming the child benefit, the working tax credit. And, the judges do start from a 50-50 standpoint. So don't think that just because you have not seen the child for a number of years, you were formally accused of something, or the breakup was so messy that you have not been able to speak to the child, that you won't stand a chance. You will stand a chance if you're a good person, if you have, not even if you have a home, so far as you are able to relay and contact with that child and you're a good person, then definitely. You may have criminal convictions, you may have a one-bedroom, doesn't matter. Make that step. The application does cost a fair bit, but if you're not working, you may apply for a fee exemption. If you are working, it can be quite expensive. It's over £400. But then the court will list you in, ask you to come and sit down, ask why somebody doesn't want to let you see the child, ask why you want to see the child and your circumstances. There'll be a review, and the court may ask even a court welfare officer, a court family advice officer, to do an assessment on the family. If there has been a history of violence or anything like that, or allegations, the judge may ask your local Department of Social Services to step in and also do a report. Once the report is done, the judge will make a decision. So you may have to go to court a number of times. But if in that process you actually come to an agreement, the judge may be happy to sign a consent order. So it may be done quicker than you even think. But if there's been a long period of separation, the judge may want you to be reintroduced to the child slowly, gradually, maybe at a contact centre. Maybe the child may need support if it might be emotionally traumatic for the child. So don't think it's impossible. It's actually very, very doable. You may need support if there's been allegations or there's been a history that's a bit messy, but take the steps. Every child needs a parent.
Every child needs a parent. That's the message tonight. Every child needs a parent. Get in touch with us. Email us at esther@obasekisolicitors.com. That email address will be on the screen for you next week. Give us a call. Check on our website. Come to our office. We do a free legal clinic every Friday. Every Friday we would attend to you, consult with you for free on a Friday. Are you in any category we've discussed tonight? Suffering from abuse, your children are in care, having a relationship problem, whatever it is, as you pray, take a step of faith, add work to your prayer. Get in touch with us. Let us help you. Let us work with you and make sure you get solutions to your problems.
And
email us.
If you have an institution, a church, an after-school club, and you're not reviewing your safeguarding policies, please do. Don't fall foul.
Exactly.
Let us help you as
We
well.
can help you to do that. We can help you to do
proper policies in place.
Absolutely.
Next week, divorce.
Yes, separation and divorce.
Separation and divorce. We'll have a chat about that. If you've even come out of an unmarried situation, if you got married abroad in Africa, and now
And
you're
you're
living
married
here,
there too.
you have assets here, assets in Nigeria, not sure what to do. Mediation is the starting point, but we will go through all of that next week.
So share. Tell your friends and family members about this
Try
show.
and call in. Let us have your words.
Definitely. You're warming up to us. We see you same time, same station next week.
Thanks
you want to
for
come on
tuning
the
in.
show? Give us a beep, yeah? We can have you on here. We can advertise for you. Advertise your product on this show as well. Get in touch. Let's hear from you. See you next week. Have a good evening. Thanks, Dr. Jennifer. It's
My
been very,
pleasure. Thank you.
educated. God bless you. Good night. Bye-bye.
When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. OBASELI Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020-7739-7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com.